Welcome, great agents from across the country. Today is Thursday, August 2nd, 2017, and this is Mastermind call number 137. Got a tremendous turnout today. One of our partners, Tim, is we're having internet problems in Florida, so he's going to be late to the call. But right now it's me and Chad, and we kind of have a treat for you guys this week. Chad, I'll turn it over to you in a second, and if you want to cover anything before you introduce Julie. But we've had some rave reviews about this calls from many of you, and we're always impressed with how willing y'all are to share your ideas and, you know, for the mutual benefit of everyone. If there's one criticism we've had, that there's a lot of new people, and we seem to get asked the same questions over and over again. So we decided to improve it. We're going to starting next month, we're going to do a weekly, brand new, separate call for the brand new people, a weekly call where we can answer some of the very common questions that get asked. In addition to that, we're starting a new feature. The first Thursday of every month, we're having an Ask the Expert feature, where we're having someone from a related industry to probate come in and share some great ideas with us. And the first of those is today, and we're going to take about 15, 20 minutes with our expert, and then we'll go back to our regular format where we will be answering questions. So please don't hesitate to get in the queue. I see we have one person in there already. And again, if you do want to get in the queue and be unmuted, just hit *6 and hit 1. And I will turn it over to Chad from here. Take it away, Chad.
Okay. Housekeeping first. So if you weren't on the probate role play call yesterday at 2 p.m., those are the first Wednesday of every month. And if you're a subscriber, you can find that by clicking on the conference calls, access call archive, or you can jump into our Facebook group, All the Leads Mastermind. It has been posted in there. So if you didn't get a chance to make the role play call, be sure to listen to the recording. And August Probate Mastery, I've had a lot of folks asking when the dates are. I did schedule it and sent out an email. It's August 14th, 15th, and 16th. So it's done 3 consecutive days from 2 p.m. to 3 or 4 p.m., depending on how interactive the group is. So what we find is 60% of you guys say, I really want to take mastery and plan to, but not everybody jumps and does it. So if it's something you've been waiting on, I mean, the classes are done once a month in a group format, and I think they just continue to get better. So everything's video recorded. If you have to go out to a closing or a listing appointment, because it's midday, it's at your desk when you get back. So if you want to sign up, you can look on the left in subscriber portal. Just click under Education, click Probate Mastery, and there's kind of a course outline and the pricing and everything. So is Tom on?
Tom said he's here, but he has nothing.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, Tom.
Okay.
Tom, did you want
you got nothing?
You got nothing for us, Tom? Like Survivor, I got nothing for you.
I got nothing
Anything
for
you want to
you.
share with the group?
A reminder all to everyone that if they need anything, just always call us directly or send an email to support@alltheleads.com.
Excellent.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, our first Ask the Expert call. Really excited about our guest today. Julie Hall is the founder and owner of The Estate Lady. You can find her there at theestatelady.com. She's also the founder, I believe, and the executive director of the American Society of Estate Liquidators, or ASEL. And really, that society is the standard, the number one association for ethics and education in the estate sale industry. So check them out. Julie's also a very accomplished author with over 5 books, hundreds and hundreds of articles, and several educational courses over her 25-plus years as an estate sale professional and the executive director of her society. So, Julie, there's your intro. So just to set the stage here, I mean, we're seeing more and more estate sale companies come to these calls and become our subscribers. So we have a really mixed audience of realtors, real estate investors, estate sale company owners. We have some title company owners, And we're all in complementary industries, and we're all trying to serve the same people. And I was really impressed with Julie's business values and kind of the way she runs her companies and her society, and it's very much aligned with the stuff, with the way we train and the way we teach. So I'm excited to have her with us today. And Julie, anything else you would like to say? Did I miss anything?
Oh no, that was wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, one of the things I'm eager to ask is, we have this mix of people, these different businesses that are looking to serve people in the transition and the probate process. So, can you share with us, like, what should we as professionals be looking for when we're looking for the right estate sale partner? So we teach our folks to really build a team around them, so they can provide the highest level of service and differentiate themselves. And one of the first things we tell them to go find is a credible estate sale company. And one of the most common questions we get is, well, how do we do that? And
that's
we,
a wonderful
point them to
question.
directories and different things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to hear your opinion.
Thank you so much. That's a very important question, and I've got some wonderful answers for you. I think that wonderful opportunity exists between estate sale professionals. And let me define a professional. An estate sale professional is someone who has dedicated pretty much the bulk of their life to understanding the industry, understanding the market, and understanding their clients' needs, not to mention a whole host of other things that they have to know to work successfully. When you're getting ready to either recommend someone or hire someone, perhaps on behalf of a client, there are things you need to look for. For example, always reach out to other professionals, such as maybe estate planning attorneys, family attorneys, CPAs, financial planners, other realtors that you know in your community or region that may have used someone. And always go the distance and call and inquire who they recommend to handle their clients' estates. Also, personal referrals have some weight. Maybe from friends or neighbors, church or synagogue or other community organizations. It's also very important to look and see, are they members of any professional organizations or consumer organizations such as the Better Business Bureau, Angie's List. There are other organizations for personal property appraisers. Many estate sale professionals are also appraisers. If you go to the American Society of Estate Liquidators, our organization, you will see a tab, Find a Member. So you can always check and search by zip code to see if we have somebody in your community as well, because they have gone through an application process. There are other large websites that you may be familiar with, such as estatesales.net, estatesales.org. These are the biggest estate sale listing sites in the world. And while you can click on your state and you can click on your city and you'll come up with a whole listing of estate sale professionals, they're not vetted. So you need to do your research on them. So you need to check out the reputation online. You need to check references, because a lot of times your clients won't do it because your clients are overwhelmed. They're either moving, downsizing, their lifestyle changes is now they're going into assisted living or nursing home. Perhaps they have a terminal illness and their mind is elsewhere. So it kind of falls on the professionals to lead the way in the right direction for our clients. It's also very important to understand that an estate sale professional has a tremendous responsibility. We can disassemble completely and sell an entire household within a week to 10 days. And that may be a 50 to 70-year accumulation. So the job is massive, and I would just recommend that you can even reach out to local estate sale professionals that you've heard of, or perhaps you've heard a company name more than once or twice. Meet them for coffee. Get to know them. Build a relationship. And the secret to my success when I reached out to realtors, I wanted to build a team that I could count on. And the only way you're going to build that team is if you get to know each other. And those are just some tips.
Good advice. Well, great segue too. I mean, we teach everybody to build a team around yourself and not just have a list of vendors, but actually treat it that way. So, you know, a lot of people ask, how do you compensate your vendors? And my answer is always by doing exactly what you promised every time and expecting the same in return.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in building that team, I mean, I think a lot of people have trouble because we don't, you know, as real estate professionals, we might not necessarily had much exposure to the estate sale industry. So when our folks are first reaching out to an estate sale company, like what's the best way that we can kind of show them how can we be of value to the estate sale industry? And conversely, how can the estate sale professionals on this call show the real estate professionals how they can be valuable in their business? Like how can we demonstrate that kind of symbiotic relationship between the two?
Well, having been on the estate sale side of things for so many years, I can tell you that what I've learned is the estate sale professional is very much a catalyst for the realtor because we can, you know, we get involved in our clients' lives a little bit so we know what their financial situation is. And these days we're seeing more and more clients who need to sell their largest asset, being their home, in order to pay for their continued care, retirement, etc. So I would encourage you, just like I cold called realtors for a long, long time, I would encourage realtors to reach out to us. And many of them already do. I get calls on a weekly basis of realtors who want to get to know me or make me a part of their team. It is important.
Tell us about one of those phone calls that really impressed you, Julie. Like, what's the most memorable call you've gotten from a realtor, and why?
The most memorable call I received was about a year ago because I'm starting to see a pattern with realtors, and I like it. They have figured out that in order to serve the client appropriately, they're trying to bring in a team of professionals that can ensure their move or their downsize or the sale of their home and their possessions goes flawlessly. So what I'm seeing more and more realtors doing is implementing and bringing in professionals such as myself to advise or consult, to do the selling, to recommend other resources, and they're bringing in a whole team, and they're bringing this team to the client. And that one conversation was of a realtor who approached me and said, this is, you know, I'm a realtor, but we want to start bringing in estate clean-out people, estate sale people, appraisers. We want to start bringing this to the client so that the client, this is an extra tool that as a realty we're providing for them. I thought it was a brilliant concept, and that's why it sticks out in my mind.
Yeah. And have you guys shared referrals in the last year since you had made that introduction?
Oh, yes, very much so. You know, again, we know our client's situation. Sometimes we're in maybe a lower-end home. Sometimes we're in a $10 million home. You never know what we're going to get. So we do try to refer out to the proper resource that we feel can handle that client. And as for myself, I also take personalities into consideration if I think it's going to be a good fit with a particular realtor.
Yep, and that's one of the things we discussed too. So it's not, you can't always have one estate sale partner that's going to be able to service the entire spectrum of clients you'll work with. So the advice we've given is, you know, find the estate sale companies that specialize. Like in my market, we have people that work flea markets even, and they're associated with churches. So he'll come in, take everything out of the house. He finds stuff that he can sell at a flea market, make sure whatever gets donated, can be donated, gets donated, and the rest gets dumped. And all the way up to like specialty firearms dealers and antiques dealers that are here in our area that deal with estates that are, you know, heavy on firearms or heavy on handmade furniture. Mm-hmm. And I try to make sure that I try to match my clients with the right companies. Because if you send the high-end guy that's looking for a $50,000 sale to a $20,000 house, that relationship's probably not going to work out.
And also,
so what you're saying is the same thing with realtors, right? You've got you know which realtors are specializing in which field.
Yes, that is correct. And when it comes to estate sale professionals, sometimes you may have a very average home, but there may be one or two exceptionally rare or items of significant value that need to be determined and identified either by the estate sale professional or through a colleague of the estate sale professional, such as an appraiser who might be able to identify those items. There are some items that are going to go to an upper tier auction. There are many items that are going to be sold. The bulk of the items can be sold in an estate sale. Occasionally, after the family has taken what they want, there may not be enough for an estate sale. So then you bring in either an estate buyer or, like you mentioned, Chad, just a flea market guy to pick up the remnants and haul them off.
Julie, you remind me of a story we heard from one of our clients probably 6 months or so ago, where the people had passed away and it had been a year they had not sold the house because the father had he had a Lionel train collection. He had trains throughout the entire house. And these antique trains were probably worth more than the house. And the family was 1,000 miles. It wasn't a high-end house. The family was thousands of miles away, and they had no idea what to do with this. And the agent got a hold of a specialist like you who referred somebody who specialized that. They came in, bought the trains, they got paid, and the guy listed and sold the house. So good, that does happen. That's a great point. Don't assume that all the good stuff is in the really expensive houses. That's not necessarily true.
That is spot on. And also, sometimes I see people, clients of mine, where they kind of suffer from a paralysis after a loved one has died. Sometimes
we call that probate quicksand.
Oh, my goodness. The house will just sit. Well, you and I, everybody on this call knows that house, number one, is now a target. Number two is costing money to keep going. And so someone like myself who's also an advisor will go in and advise my clients, I think we need to bring in a realtor sooner rather than later because. And so I will go into that. And I just think if you're fortunate enough to build a relationship with an estate sale professional who has a 360-degree view of what the situation is and what needs to be done, you have struck gold.
That's great.
Perfect.
We're so closely aligned in what we're talking about. So this is a positive call, but I'd like to take the opportunity to ask you, what's the biggest mistake that you've seen other realtors and real estate professionals make that we could all learn from? Like what's the worst habit that you've seen that affects your industry or your relationship with your client, or like what do we do to get in our own way that we could do a better job at?
Well, that's a wonderful question, and I'll answer it as honestly as I can. One of the mistakes that I see is sometimes realtors, and this is true of other industries, they don't see the boundary clearly, and there's a lot of gray area there. If you are a realtor who also wants to become an estate sale professional, we're seeing that trend on the rise as well. I mean, and the American Society will train realtors. However, if you are a realtor and you just want to remain a realtor, that is your job. Once you bring in an estate sale professional or the estate sale professional meets with the client and everything is good to go, then step back. Because we do see some realtors stepping over the line. We've even seen some realtors go in and purchase things ahead of time, which in the industry is a little unethical. So we just try to draw those boundaries as clearly as possible.
So, I mean, and this is, again, what we talk about, find an estate sale company that you can trust, that you know is not going to usher the listing off to their favorite real estate agent. Make the connection with the seller and get out of the way and know that they're clearing the way for you to do your job. I mean, that's exactly what we teach.
Julie, it's a similar situation when we have realtors that are also investors. And there's nothing wrong with doing both, but I always tell the realtors, tell them the truth about what the house is worth, and if they still want to sell it for that, that's great. Then step in with your investor hat, but don't go in and as a realtor and lowball the price and take advantage of them. Same concept. It's all about transparency, and even myself, I'm kind of considered an old bulldozer in the industry, but for 25 years I was the estate sale professional. I'm also an appraiser, and those are two distinctly different skills that I possess. And so when I go into an estate, I make sure that the client understands, no, I'm wearing my appraiser hat right now, and I will answer any and all of those questions. And I will be completely transparent with my clients at all times. And I ask my team members to be the same way. So as long as you find somebody who's got that great reputation, depth of experience, a wonderful contract, and you've heard over and over again that they're good and they've got great people skills, you should be in very good hands.
Great. Well, Julie, if you're willing to stick around, we're going to do a Q&A, and we can have our normal mastermind call. If you have questions specifically for Julie, she will be here. *6, wait a moment, and then 1 to enter the queue, and Jim will get you in.
As always, nothing is offline. Even if you're brand new and new in the business, we're going to have a separate call for you soon. But in the meantime, I'm sure there's a lot of other people on this call that have the same question you do. So, again, *6 and hit 1. We only have one person in the queue now. We got room for a bunch more, so step up. Or hopefully we have a long question from the one person that's in there. We'll start with them. Phone number ending in 9028. You're up first.
Hi, can you hear me?
Can hear you great, Dan. Thank you.
Loud and clear.
All right, great. So I'm curious the type of leads and your source of leads, and how often are they updated, and how that would work. So, for example, if I buy the list and we go forward, is that list organically changing as the month goes on or the year goes on, or is it the same list at one time?
Yeah, no, I'll be glad to answer that. And obviously, from time to time, guys, we invite potential clients on the call also. I always tell them, this is I'm the founder of the company. I'm going to say great things. Come on and listen in to what agents have to say. So obviously, you're a potential subscriber. You're not getting the leads yet, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, to answer your question, every month we only give you all the new probates that were filed in the last 30 days. We try to be really careful not to ever give you duplicates. And in most counties, that is quite a task because, there might be 1,000 probate filings, but only 250 of them are new. In a lot of counties, every time there's an amendment, an addition, something extra gets put in that file, it shows up as a new filing. So, no, we sort through them, and I can't say we'll never give you a duplicate, but it's very rare that we will. We only provide you with the probates that were filed in the last 30 days, and that's the initial filing date. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. And so the list is updated, or every month we would pay.
It's a brand new list every month. It's a brand new list.
Okay. Yes. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Fortunately, we have some.
Sorry. Hi.
Go ahead.
So in the list, it's shared with other agents that are participating as well, or is it a private list?
Every county is different. In most counties, we limit our subscribers to 3. So, as a matter of fact, if you go on our website, you'll see a number of them that say the county's not available, and you can just click the link and you'll get on a wait list. And I tell agents, go ahead and do that because, unfortunately, I was an old real estate coach. Unfortunately, agents buy these leads. They mean well. They do nothing with them, and a couple months later, they cancel. They usually apologize for canceling. So just because your county is sold out, it doesn't mean it won't be available in the future. But most of the counties are still available. We have less than 3 people.
Okay, so each county is 3?
Yes, sir. 3? There's a few exceptions like Los Angeles, and there's a few areas that are geographically immense where we've divvied them up geographically. But in most cases, we limit it to 3.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that when we're calling someone, I'm not calling a person that has already been called by someone else.
Well, let me put it this way. It's possible. Sure, it's possible there'll be another one of our subscribers, but look at it compared to FSBOs or expireds, where you've got 100 people calling the same person. It certainly is a much, your odds are considerably better with probate than almost any other lead source, even if someone else is calling them.
Okay. Awesome.
Okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, next up in the queue, phone number ending in 7546. You're up next.
This is Barb calling from Lexington, Kentucky. I'm still probably one of the newbies. I talked to you all last week. I wanted to give everybody an update, and this estate sale component today has been very good. I actually mailed out my first set of letters are to be mailed out on Monday. 64 leads from Fayette County, Kentucky. We now have a team. I have 2 realtors. I have an estate sale sales agent who I'm very, very excited about. She is so excited. I also have a title attorney who will answer any questions for the sellers about the closing process, and I'm working on getting some contractors on board. But just wanted to let everybody know that whoever is just starting this, that the letter was extremely easy to customize. We actually used the initial contact letter, and we formed it so that all 3 of us gave a brief bio in the first paragraph, trying to grab everybody. We didn't go into long spiels about how great we are. And then we did the bulleted portion where we explained exactly what we offer. So we are really, really excited about it. And creating the mail campaign and getting it sent out was very easy. So we're just going to meet next week and make our phone calls and hopefully get some business out of it.
That is great, Barb, and I think we just start every call with you from now on. You just come on every week. Thank you.
Hey, well, it's funny. It's just I've been in the business for over 10 years. I have a friend that just got back into the business, and she is on my team, and she is so motivated to get busy, and she is a go-getter. I mean, she has been great doing all the, the legwork. And this estate sale agent is with a very large estate sale company nationwide, and they just started here a year ago. And they've got a great reputation. And she said that she's keeping it quiet because she's heard people in her office talking about what a great concept this is and why hasn't anybody done this. And she wanted to tell them, well, I am. But she is very devoted to us and not sharing any other realtor names. So as you just said on that previous call, I think I'm the only one that you all have in Fayette County, and there were 64 leads. So that should be pretty promising.
Yeah, you don't have to have a high conversion rate to have it make a lot of sense. It's
no,
funny.
And nobody knows about it here. Our market here is very vibrant, and we have 3,000 agents in this area, and nobody talks about these leads. So I'm trying to keep it very quiet. But I think it's a great service.
Oh, no, go ahead. Finish. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying I think it's a fantastic, no-brainer service, and who wouldn't want to take advantage of it?
Amen. I could just hear our agent in Los Angeles or Miami cursing you, saying, "Dang, I need to move there," because.
Well, and I like it because I like it. It's going to be manageable. And now that I have a team, and I want that. I actually have an agent in our office who's a flipper, and he took me aside yesterday and he said, "I want to know about these properties when you get them, and I'll pay cash." So it's just caused a ripple of excitement, and hopefully it'll all work out. So, but I just wanted people that are just getting started to know so far it has been easy and it has been very affordable. The 3 of us are splitting. It's $115 a piece to get started, and that's nothing compared to other lead generation I've used.
It's funny, Barb, we hear a lot from agents like, you guys actually did what you said and this actually works. It's unfortunately
because and I don't
big bird. Yeah.
I don't mean to name, I won't name drop, but the other lead generation systems I've used as a realtor have been horrible, and the leads are not good. These leads are people that actually need your help, and whether or not they'll accept it is another thing. But it's not like your typical buyer leads that half of them aren't even able to buy, or they're just looking to rent, or they're just nosy. I mean, this has a much better return rate, I think. So.
Wow, very well said. I think I need to hire you as a salesperson and take some time off.
Hey, hey, whatever.
You better hurry
All
up.
right,
When
well,
her mail drops, she's
I'll
not
get
going to
off
have time.
here.
No,
Yeah,
no,
but
don't get off. I had one other
okay.
thing
Well, I
wanted.
wanted to ask one. Now, I did want to ask one question. The probate mastery in August. You know, I'm trying to watch my budget. Should I do it this month, or should I wait, or what do you think? I mean, how valuable is it to me at this point? Chad?
I mean, the biggest thing that's going to come out of it will be just a higher level of confidence, and that comes from, you know, more knowledge.
Okay.
You know, you will certainly be more comfortable in the initial conversation. You're pretty clear on exactly what it is you guys are going to do. I mean, we spend a lot of time looking at day one, like, why is probate an opportunity, and how can we, you know, provide value in the space to take advantage of that. Day two is really laying out exactly everything you can do, not just listing houses, but what is the potential of working with these folks, and what do you commit to. And then day three is really focused on getting the sales side of it. So how do you we break the initial conversation down step by step, the whole listing appointment, all the common objections you hear, and you have an opportunity to hear me and other people role play that. So it's definitely gonna make you more confident when you make those first phone calls. I'm not going to say that you won't be successful without it. I mean, you know, we have tons of people who don't take mastery, but the ones who do tend to stick, you know, be with us a lot longer and tend to have the majority of the success stories.
Okay. And one other thing off topic, sort of, as far as the attorney letters, we're not going to do that right away. We're taking flyers with our information on it to offices next week with donuts or cookies or whatever, and we're just going to walk right in and say, hey, can I have 10 minutes? I don't want to do the letters because I think they'll end up in the trash. And like I think you all said before on another webinar, we're going to look at the attorneys that are on the list that we got and go talk to them. So
you're 100% on track. Go do that.
Okay, good. All right. I hope this all pans out. All right. Well, thank you. I'll stay on the call, but I'll get out of here.
I have no doubt that it will pan out. Thank you so much, Barb. We have three
more.
All right.
Thank.
All right. Really, really appreciate your kind words and participating. We have three more people in the queue. Phone number ending in 8300. You're up next.
Yes. Good afternoon. This is Daniel Sanders in Washington, D.C.
Hi, Dan.
We're an estate sales company up in here. Hey, Julie, nice to speak with you again.
Hello.
I have two questions. And do I have time for two questions?
Of course. Sure.
Okay. So the first one is, Julie, because this is a call for realtors dealing with probate properties, how do you determine which realtors are going to be the best partners for you? And with a sub-question to that particular question of how do you weed out the ones that are lesser performers? Just because, like in any industry, you have those who perform at a higher level than others.
Well, those are great questions, but they're a little difficult to answer only because I think it comes down to getting a feel. I don't know if I'm sure you understand that, getting a feel for who's going to be a good fit for how you work and how you operate, and also getting a feel for your client situation and who's going to be the best possible fit. So a lot of it is going to be, I think, intuitive with a little mix of ingenuity and figuring out who's going to be the best for who. For me, here in my region, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, we have homes from the very low to, exorbitantly high in value. And so it really depends. We've got certain realtors that seem to focus on different areas. We've got some higher-end companies, or at least they promote themselves doing higher-end, and then we've got people who are just kind of an average home, like, my home is like a $350,000 to $450,000 home in Charlotte, which is a decent home. And then we have those that may be in beginner homes or starter homes. So I do my best to reach out to different realtors at different levels. And how I did it, for many years, I would stop by a realty and I would introduce myself, and I would come armed with flyers and business cards and wanting to maybe introduce myself at a weekly meeting, even just if it's 10 minutes so they knew about me. And I figured those that were meant to meet with me and me with them, we found a way to find each other. And we did. And over the course of time, I built a relationship with many, many different realtors, and not just here either, across state lines as well. So it takes time, it takes energy, it takes know-how, and it takes a good feel for what the situation is. I'm not sure that I answered you, but I tried.
No, I understand. Now, you mentioned getting 10 minutes at their sales meetings. How do you feel about real estate brokerages that want to charge you to speak to their agents? Because that's something we've seen here in the D.C. area, and I have my own opinions about that.
Yes, I'm sure. Well, I will be the first to tell you that is new to me. You know, maybe I'm just a little old school, or I've been fortunate to not have that yet, but I will tell you that it would depend on what that fee is and how many people you get access to. Now, in my own private practice and trying to build my own generation of leads, and I'm going back 20 years, 15 years, 10 years before you've got what you've got now, I kind of did it by hitting the pavement. I would do, you know, mail-outs and things of this nature, and what stuck. And if I was fortunate enough to get in with, let's say, a continuing education for legal continuing education, I got in to speak with the Realtors Association because I enjoy public speaking as well. So fees were never a part of that. But today, in the 21st century, if it would get me an audience that I need, and it's a really good one, I would consider it if the fee were reasonable.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. And then my second question was, what is your experience with probate properties actually delivering, solid inventories of resaleable items? With a sub question to that of what guidance would you give realtors? What guidance do you give realtors to make sure that when they call you in, that it's the best use of your time?
Well, sometimes you don't know until you actually get in there and look.
Obviously,
yeah. Part of our contract should include that the individual that we're dealing with has the legal right to sell, the legal representative or the legal right to, they own it in fee simple and they can sell it. Many estate sale professionals have now included that they need documentation or a letter of testamentary showing who that individual may be to cover themselves. My experience with what you ask is limited. And so very often we do our best to field things on the phone as much as we can, but a lot of time, as you know, a lot of time and energy is spent going and visiting these estates to see what is going to be a good sellable. You know,
sure.
Looking back at some of my experience, a lot of the homes there wasn't much we could do with because what was left in the home was either not sellable or maybe it was more suited for charitable donations. But you never know.
Right. And I mean, we spend a ton of time kissing frogs just like you do. You know,
yes.
To find out what prints, you know.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Right.
And but occasionally you will find that diamond in the rough.
Okay, great. Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Two more people in the queue. Phone number ending in 4100. You're up next.
Hi, this is Gail from Menlo Park, California, and I just went through I sent out the first letter, and I called one person, and she said, you know what, Gail, we were ready to open up probate. My lawyer paid for it, but now the heirs are actually contesting that the will was not acceptable to them. Evidently, she was the caretaker, and at the end of his life, towards the end of it, he put her on the will and put her on the property, and they're contesting that. So I thought, okay, well, I'll call her back, in a little while, see what happens. She was going to go to court, and she did go to court, and they have decided that they want to sell the property, that they want to sell it very quickly. They're going to be doing an inspection on August 14th. She emailed the lawyer my information. I called her yesterday so that I could talk to her about talking to the lawyer and just firming that up. And so I thought I'd have to wait 3 to 6 months before anything would happen. And the property is probably worth $1 million, $1.2 million, which is the lower end of, yeah, it's funny, but it's the lower end of our area. But still, it's awesome, and I'm really excited about it. So I wanted to share that success story. I mean, I've only been with all my leads not even 30 days. That's pretty awesome,
That's great.
I think.
Thanks, Gail.
You're welcome, Chad. And then the other thing is, I was talking to this one guy. He doesn't know whether he's going to use the lawyer not the lawyer, but the realtor that they bought the property from. The wife is involved in the decision making. And I said, well, you can sell the property before you go to probate. He said, no, I have to go to court. I don't know if this is different in California. He has to go to court in order to make that happen. Is that right?
It is if he hasn't petitioned the court for full power or full authority. That is
that's
right.
Where he's at.
So he can either buy a fidelity bond or show that it was waived in the will and petition the court for full power. Then he can make decisions. Otherwise, it goes. You can put the home on the market. Then you have to take the ratified contract back to court, and that starts what's called an overbid process, where the public has a chance to overbid the offer on the home. So you can circumvent that if you get him full power, and definitely don't have the legal conversation, but let him know that his attorney can help him with that. But you can make it a much more efficient process for them by making them aware of their rights and having them, for whatever reason, the probate attorneys don't seem to push that. But you can shorten the process by months.
Well, he's going to court next week, and won't he get that power then?
Only if he's petitioning for it.
Yeah, that's what he's doing.
Okay.
So once
he
he
should
petitions
be granted.
and he goes to court, then he'll have the right to sell the property, right?
Yep. In a normal situation where that they're a rightful heir and that's been validated in the initial hearing, if they petition, it's not it's not really in the state's not trying to step in the way of efficiency. They're just making sure that the estate's not abused. So it's more likely than not he'll be granted that, then you can move forward.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I'm very excited, just like the other person that first started the conversation. Yeah, all kinds of lead generation and, from buyers to sellers, and this is pretty awesome.
Gail, I'm really sorry you had to start off with a lower end $1.2 million deal, but I'm sure you'll suffer through it, right?
Yeah, I will. Thanks.
Great story. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is phone number ending in 7238.
Hi, this is Martin, and I wanted to thank all the leads for having such an esteemed guest in with you today. Julie is just an amazing person. She's done so much for the industry. I'm a member in the industry. I guess I have a couple of observations. The number one thing is you asked Julie what's the number one potential mistake a realtor might do or do. Anyways, I think the number one mistake is not taking enough time to choose an estate liquidator. Julie's been doing this for a long time. Hopefully she could give some guidance to your listeners for, like 3 things you should definitely do. She talked about vetting and ethics. Julie, if you could give us, your guidance on, or the listeners to this program, your guidance on like 3 things that every realtor should definitely make sure to ask a potential estate liquidator, I would thank you very much.
Oh, sure. Well, there's many different questions. There's a ton of different things that can be asked, but I think you touched upon 2 that are very important. Be able to guide, to be able to look for someone who has integrity and ethics. Another thing that I think to look for, and I see this everywhere in my business, and you probably see it in real estate as well, setting clients' expectations are a big one as well. And because I think people are so attached to their stuff, so to speak, they naturally think that it's quite valuable. They probably feel the same way about their homes. And we have to study our sales comps as well to be able to produce those fair market values or estate liquidation values for the client. There are other things, too, to look for. Are they insured, bonded? Very important. It's also important for the client to keep insurance and liability insurance on the property during the course of handling an estate sale. But I think also, let's see, time frame, to discuss the time frame is very important. Sometimes clients will call us. It'll be a Monday morning, and they're expecting an estate sale that Friday. It's just impossible to do that. So it's important to set expectations when it comes to timing as well. Contacting a professional is always a lot easier when you call them in advance with a little bit of forewarning and organization. And I think there are just some basic tips off the top of my head, but there are many, many more that I've written about that estate liquidators try to sit down and talk to their clients about as well. He brings up some great points.
So when you talk about vetting expectations, which I think is something anybody in your industry has to do on a daily basis, it may not seem normal to the person who's on the other side of the table because, you're talking about their grandmother or their mother or their father's personal property. They spent years and years and years collecting it. There's the heirloom that's, somewhere in the house that they've been told for years that is quite valuable. And, the world has changed now, as you well know, and the value, a prime example is an armoire that somebody may have spent as much as $15,000 or $20,000 on to put a television in many years ago. And now if you can get $800 or $1,200 for it, you're actually kind of lucky. So maybe you could give the realtors who might be listening some language so they can understand, like when they hear an estate liquidator say, there's no market for that, you can't get any money for that, like how can they normalize that? Like how can they understand that or contextualize that? The way the marketplace has changed.
Oh my goodness. I can give you how I address this with my clients. I usually will begin by saying, well, we understand Mom paid a lot for that sofa, painting, or vase, but what was paid for an item has no bearing on what it will sell for in today's softer market because there's a big difference between retail and resale. Then I go a little deeper, and I talk about the 1980s and 90s and when they were peak times in the market for silver and other furnishings. And then I talk about the elderly generation, the Depression-era generation, which are basically 90 million strong, and we're losing this generation now at a rapid pace. And their items, their styles, their lifestyles are completely different from what their children and grandchildren are living. So as they're passing away, their traditional furnishings are truly flooding the personal property market. Then enter their boomer children. We're downsizing. At the same time, they're getting sick and passing away. And then if you ask the boomers' children or grandchildren, they're not interested most of the time in grandmother's floral sofa or doilies or painted china or little tchotchkes. So what it comes down to is the law of supply and demand. We have so much on the market right now. The brown furniture. Everybody, I'm sure, has read these articles in the New York Times, the LA Times, Wall Street Journal, etc., where this traditional stuff has flooded the market and there's not enough desire for it. So when I take the time to explain all of that and educate the client, all of a sudden the light bulb goes off and it's a bit of an aha moment where, oh my gosh, she's right. And a classic example is when I had a son, about a 65-year-old son. Everybody is always very polite to me and I to them, but he had a little bit of an attitude, and I said, what part is vexing you? And he said, well, this is Mother's teacup collection. They're all 120 years old, 130 years old. They're Victorian. And I said, yes, I understand, and I've explained the supply and demand, and I said, let me ask you, do you want them? And he said, no. I said, do your sisters want them? No. Do your children want them? No. Okay, then. Somebody will want them, but that somebody is going to be an older collector, and the older collectors, sadly, are passing away, too. And then also I had to bring in that all of these old teacups had broken and re-glued handles and chips and fractures and cracklatures, etc., which all has an impact on value. So to keep it simple, condition is everything. Is it still in style? Nope. Well, it might sell, but don't get your hopes up too high. In other words, go ahead.
As I listen to you two, it just amazes me how similar our businesses are, because anybody on this call who was in the real estate business in 2005, 2006, how many times did you hear, how could my house be worth $350? I paid $500 for it.
Yeah.
Or
right,
how many agents that have been around for a long time haven't lost a listing to somebody because they go in and they're honest on price, and somebody comes in, promises them it's worth a lot more, and it ends up expiring, and they get the listing the second time. I remember an old line with our listings when we were going for price reductions. We'd often say to the owner, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, it looks like you're still the highest bidder on your property. I mean, do you want to buy it for that price, or do we want to go ahead and reduce the price? Very, very similar patterns. It's very similar industry. Sorry, go ahead.
I'd like to follow that up just a little bit. That the only thing that's changed, there's still a market, even for brown furniture. It's just not what they think it's worth, right?
Correct.
There are people still buying brown couches. I sell brown couches every sale. It's just the price has gone down, and that's the normalizing or the vetting of the expectations. To tie it back into what you said, is to vet the expectations. You can still sell it. It's just not going to sell for what you thought.
Right.
And here's why. So I just have one final thing, and thank you for answering all my questions so well. So even though there's a perception in the marketplace from both buyers and sellers that that the market is depressed for personal property, what we're finding in our area is that there are some things that are just exploding in value, and they're the kinds of things that you kind of alluded to them earlier in your presentation. They're the kinds of things that most people wouldn't even know they were worth money.
Right.
It could be ephemera, it could be, so just sterling silver, for instance. You can get like 1,000 sets of sterling silver that are worth melt, right? And then you start to think all silver is worth melt, and then you find a George Jensen set of silver, right?
Exactly.
So what are like three kind of categories that you can let these realtors know about that they really better get? In fact, this ties into the whole thing of like, you think it's quote junk. That's when you actually should get a little scared. As soon as you walk into a house, Mr. and Mrs. Realtor, as soon as you walk into a house and you look around and you say it's all junk, that's when you actually have to call a competent estate liquidator, because I don't appraise houses and homes and land because I don't know what I'm talking about, right? But I do go into houses every day, and I know what I'm talking about, and I have found more diamonds in the rough than anybody could ever imagine. So maybe you could speak to that a little bit, and I won't ask any more questions. And I just want to thank the providers of this forum and you personally, Julie, for answering these questions so well.
Oh, well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I think you hit the nail on the head when you use the phrase competent estate sale professional. I mean, this is what goes back. Find somebody who has the depth of experience or knowledge, because, like he mentioned, I could walk into the most painfully modest home, a simple one little bedroom. It almost looked like a shack falling down. And when I walked in, ladies and gentlemen, there was a museum on the inside. And on the flip side, I've walked into multi-million-dollar mansions where everything was made in China and is maybe, a year old. So you just never know what you're going to find. I think it's important to seek out that person who has that level of competency, especially if you walk into a home that you feel items do have significant value. The problem lies in when you walk into a modest home and then there's a piece of phenomenal pottery that no one paid attention to on the mantle for 50 years. That's where the problems come in, because somebody who may not identify that piece is going to sell it for $12 at an estate sale instead of $1,200 for the piece that it actually is. When in doubt, also get to know personal property appraisers. Sometimes an estate liquidator and appraiser are one and the same, and it's great to have that little extra oomph, or your client, if it brings them peace of mind, to hire a personal property appraiser. They're the American Society of Appraisers, the International Society of Appraisers. Should be pretty easy to find one in all major cities. Did that help a little?
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I keep hearing the parallels with real estate. When you said the brown couch, it kind of reminded me, if you're a realtor taking a listing in Southern California, most people want air conditioning and they want a roof that doesn't leak, but that doesn't mean there isn't a buyer for a house where the air is shot and the roof's leaking. I mean, you just got to find the right buyer for it, and that's what you guys do. And I think the whole lesson to be learned here is trust a professional. Some great information. Chad, anything? We're coming up on an hour, guys. This call has gone long, but this was kind of an experiment today, Julie, and it was certainly a great one. You got a big standard to live up to on the first of every month from now on. Chad, anything you want to say to summarize?
No, I just want to thank everybody for participating, especially Julie. I hope all of our normal listeners got a ton of value from this. I know I learned stuff, and thanks so much for being here and participating, guys.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me.
Welcome. And Julie, give them the website to go to again if they're looking to find an accredited estate sale company.
Well, they can certainly visit our site, which is www.aselonline.com, the American Society of Estate Liquidators. And my personal site is theestatelady.com.
Wonderful. And I always like to end these calls, and it's particularly meaningful today, by thanking everyone who showed up. We've got a tremendous turnout. Thank everyone who took the time to participate. Thank you, our guest speakers. And I always like to challenge everyone. There's some great content on this call, some great success stories of brand new agents that are just killing it, some great ideas on how to expand your business by working with, related industry like estate sales. So take one idea that you heard on this call, go out and put it into practice, and come back and share your results next Thursday with the group. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week. We'll talk to you same time next Thursday.